Yesterday, I named my favorite films of 2014. Now, I'm going to count down the ones that didn't do it for me at all. Although it's worth mentioning that nobody sets out to make a bad film. All these filmmakers worked very hard to make something great and put it on the screen. And even if I was unimpressed, there will be those who like any one of these, and that's perfectly okay. So let's get started with number 10, Life of Crime. I like Emma Leonard's work, and they have been adapted well to the screen before. However, this lacked a lot of the spark of Get Shorty and Jackie Brown. It just felt stale, with the plot slowly moving and the laughs never registering. With the exception of Tim Robbins and Isla Fisher, the acting left a lot to be desired too. It did not even need to be set in the 1970s, so that falls flat as well. I wish the Coen brothers had been handed this project, because they would have run away with it and created something a lot more memorable. Another flat comedy shows up at number 9, with The Love Punch. This is a movie with a lot of talented people involved, including Emma Thompson and director Joe Hopkins. I could see how they thought the jokes could work, but the timing and presentation was just off all around. The characters were shrill and one-dimensional, the story was all over the place, and the humor never worked. It's just boring, and to call it sitcom-ish would be an insult to sitcoms. This should be very funny, but instead is just dire. Moving away from comedies for a bit, let's venture into horror from my number 8 pick, Deliver Us from Evil. When you say the movie is based on a true story, you better make it pretty damn believable. Nothing in this struck me as happening in any sort of reality. The situations are ridiculous, the characters lack any personality, and it ultimately becomes a series of annoying jump scares and horror movie cliches we've seen a million times already. The exorcism scene is so over the top and stupid, and the performances are especially disappointing. What was Joel McHale doing here, and why was he singing the Addams Family theme? The next couple of entries are all sequels, so get ready. And number 7, The Expendables 3. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't the point of this franchise to have classic action heroes from the 80s teaming up? And yet, after the first action scene, Sylvester Stallone decides to replace them with a bunch of boring young people. We also have a movie where the attempts at humor are really lame, and the action is not very exciting because the characters have zero personality. It doesn't help that the camera does not stop moving, and the material they gave Antonio Banderas was just sad. I can have fun with a stupid action film, but this was just stupid and not fun. Speaking of stupid, my number 6 pick is Dumb and Dumber 2. Jim Carrey has evolved a lot as an actor since 1994, and yet we get none of that with this sequel to one of the pictures that made him famous. This is almost 2 hours of Carrey and Jeff Daniels making silly faces, and it wears out its welcome very quickly. This felt like trying to retell old jokes that maybe weren't that funny to begin with. It's actually kind of sad to see 2 otherwise talented actors given just dead material to work with. After 20 years and 6 writers, you think that script would have been so funny they had to make it. Especially with Carrey coming on board, the same man who turned down $20 million to make The Mask 2. Warner Brothers owns the rights to the first Dumb and Dumber, and they turned down the opportunity to make this, and I don't blame them. Impressively, this is not the lowest ranking comedy sequel, because at number 5 is A Haunted House 2. It's been said that parody has moved away from the big screen and onto YouTube, and after watching this, I can see why. The Wayans brothers can be funny, after all In Living Color holds up pretty well, but that was a series of unrelated sketches on a half-hour television series. When trying to stretch a spoof of recent horror movies into a feature film, it becomes stale very quickly, and there's a lot of padding in this. Marlon Wayans having intercourse with the doll from The Conjuring wasn't funny the first time, and it's even less so when they repeat it. I wouldn't mind subscribing if the Wayans started a comedy channel on YouTube where they just use their best material for short skits rather than forced to fit an almost 90-minute runtime. And number 4 is an action movie where maybe scene is not the best way to describe the experience. Brick Mansions. I say that because I think there was action in this, but it's hard to tell when the camera is moving like this all the time. Get a steady cam. For film that exists because one of the leads is a professional at parkour, it'd be really great if his stunts were in focus. There are other problems too. The plot is completely preposterous, the acting is really stiff, and the twists are just eye-rolling. And its attempts at social commentary actually come across as offensive. Needless to say, I think the next Fast and Furious will definitely be a much better send-off for Paul Walker. At the number 3 spot is certainly the most annoying film I sat through this year. Legends of Oz, Dorothy's Return. Every single character in this got on my nerves, not helped by a script that has no sense of magic and imagination in it, despite being set in the land of Oz. L. Frank Baum left a wealth of material to choose from, and yet as the source, the producers picked fan fiction written by his grandson? The animation is also surprisingly weak, looking more like something you'd see direct-to-video rather than projected in 3D on a big screen. The songs are some of the worst I've heard in an animated film, courtesy of Mr. Bryan Adams. It's no wonder Canada has apologized for you on many occasions. What's sad is that talented artists who worked on projects at Disney and DreamWorks were involved in the making of this, and I get the feeling something was lost on the way to the final cut. My number 2 pick might be a tad controversial, and that's Maps to the Stars. David Cronenberg is a talented filmmaker, and he's done films I've liked. However, whenever he attempts satire, it doesn't work for me. I can see he was trying to do a dark Hollywood satire about the fakeness of that world, because even a monkey could figure out that message. It literally bashes the message in. And no, I didn't use literally incorrectly. There's a scene where it beats you over the head what the whole film is about. Everyone here is a caricature, with the acting being not much better. This feels like the sort of film that David Lynch would have done wonders with. In fact, he kind of did with Mulholland Drive. You could say I didn't get it, but I did get it, because there's no room to interpret anything else, because the script spells it all out for us. I cannot analyze this film because it won't let me. The word subtlety does not even exist in its vocabulary. And now, my number 1 worst film of the year is Into the Storm. Really, this should not be eligible for this list. I should have seen it at 2 AM on the Science Fiction Channel. But nope, apparently the studio saw fit to play it on cinemas worldwide. This manages the near impossible task of making tornadoes boring, and strangely, there's not that many stakes, so at no point was I thrilled by the on-screen action. That we have to follow such boring lead-weight characters doesn't help make it any more exciting. And then there's the perplexing decision to make this found footage. In addition to being inconsistent, I was constantly taken out of scenes because there's no reason why they did not stop filming. One scene even has the camera filming for many hours underwater. That's a very long-lasting battery, oh, it must be a really waterproof camera. The whole production feels cheap, and isn't it macabre to say I think the director, who previously made a Final Destination sequel, should have gone all out with how he dispatched with the victims? Why I didn't find this in a $5 bargain bin and instead saw it at the local multiplex, I have no idea. So, those are my worst films of the year. I'm now going to put them far behind me, focus on the best, and look forward to what 2015 brings. See you next time.